Hello and welcome everybody to the next talk we're having today. I would like to say some words about Raul Engelke first. So he's the founder and CEO of eMission, the startup that was founded in March 2021. And he studied philosophy and political science in Berlin. And he has also many years of experience in the film and directing field and was also putting that into practice while working for Apple. So please enjoy the talk right now.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Pleasure seeing everyone. I would love to start actually with the title, ESG Creating an Historic Paradigm Shift in the Financial Industry. What led me to this point, as a philosophy student and a filmmaker, as you just heard, really didn't have anything to do with the finance industry, actually. And really it was me being at a social project in Brazil, in the rainforest, with no phone, no internet, nothing, and seeing basically how the rainforest was being burned down right in front of my eyes. And that proximity to the issue back then was really kind of planting the seed inside of me to say, okay, this is something where I want to contribute, and this is something where I want to learn more about climate change and the whole issues we're facing. Because I think for my generation, but also for all the generations to come, it's super crucial that we solve this as soon as possible. And then 2.5 years ago, I met an asset manager, a friend of mine, who told me about ESG and what's going to happen and how ESG is going to dominate the next 20 years the finance industry. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I learned about the finance industry, and I realized what huge potential is actually there in banks and insurances to shift money and to enable the transformation to get to a carbon-free economy, which we have as a goal. And I thought that's super exciting. And really that's why we jumped in and made a learning platform, which is film-centric. We'll come there later. And we are targeting banks and insurance employees as customers and doing trainings. That's the first product we're doing. And really this whole transformation really is driven, as you probably know, by the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which now we as a world community kind of agreed on, okay, we got to do something. So we defined 17 goals very specifically till 2030 in all kinds of aspects, not only ecological, but also social and other aspects, which are there as a guideline. And out of this, in Europe specifically, we have the Green Deal. So we want to have a carbon-free economy by 2050. So it's not a question of if we're doing it, but when we're doing it and how fast we can do it. And I think that's great. So we're kind of on the right track in those terms. But there's still a lot to do. And now with the taxonomy, we have a concrete guideline on actually the E aspect of ESG. So we now know, or we have at least like a classification system of economic activities that companies do based on their footprint. And so we know if a company is doing something that's harmful for the environment or not. But it's not really a black and white thing, but it's more a process. Because you can be, for example, a steel production company, like Salzgitter AG, they're emitting tons of CO2. But if they actually invest a lot of money now to make green steel, so they invest in green hydrogen to make that production carbon-free. And so investments also in those kind of companies that are right now emitting a lot of carbon is super, super important to get the change going. Another factor is, of course, the SFRD, the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, aiming for more transparency in the market and creating a classification system for ESG funds. So now investors can actually know more specifically what are sustainable criteria that apply to funds for them to know more detailed, how strict, basically, under what strict rules an Article 9 fund or Article 8 fund is laying under. And depending on this, for example, the Article 9 fund is has much more strict rules of what classifies for sustainable investment. And it's not only the finance industry that's changing through this, but also the entire economy. So we have now the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. So non-financial reporting, sustainability reporting is really becoming big, and all of companies have to do it now. And that's interesting because bank insurers of big banks are starting to tell, or have started to tell banks already, that they won't pay them out anymore if, for example, a credit or a company that they invested in and gave them credit to goes bankrupt, if they haven't considered ESG risks. So now that's why all the banks are really heavily looking at ESG risks, analyzing their investments and analyzing the credit portfolio to really be kind of on the safe side. So it's really also becoming a big risk topic for banks. And this means that now companies on the other side want to get the good credit lines. So they also changed internal processes and work on their reporting to get in the future good credit from banks, which is amazing because it really shows that the whole industry is affected by this, or the whole economy actually, so real estate as well. And we have some numbers from PwC, specifically in the banking and the financial sector for financial advisors. This is actually quite shocking because more than 75% are actually scared to talk to their client about ESG because they're worried the client knows more than themselves. And when their clients were asked, most of them are interested to invest sustainable. And then they were asked, why are you not investing sustainable then? And the number one answer is, because my advisor didn't ask me. So we have literally two groups of people that would like to talk to each other, but aren't because there's not enough education. They're just not feeling comfortable to do it. And it's actually pretty sad because there is actually a market for it. And now the MiFID II, the new regulation, is kind of trying to aim at, one part of it is trying to aim at actually changing the advisory meetings and the talks by having them document the ESG preferences of their clients. So now each advisor has to go and ask the client, would you like to invest sustainable? And as soon as the client says yes, then he has to work with the client to really understand what is their specific preferences. To do that, he needs knowledge, because right now most of advisors don't know much about it. So this is really putting pressure now on banks and insurances to educate their sales teams. And this is coming up in August 2022, so in a couple months. The other aspect that we looked at was the question of reputation. So, of course, ESG and the whole sustainability subject has become a topic of reputation for banks and insurances. Because, I mean, you all know about several greenwashing scandals in the past, and you can see how it's actually damaging to brands if you kind of don't really authentically drive the subject forward, internally as well as externally. And that's why also, of course, the question of how can we gain a younger audience, how can we talk to the next generation of investors is crucial in clients that we talk to. And they understand more and more, okay, it's actually a chance to reposition yourself as a bank, as a brand, and actually authentically drive the subject. And this gains actually new markets and new investors and potential clients. And then we looked at trainings, what is out there, what kind of training programs are out there, and we realized that a lot of normal financial industry trainings are quite classic or quite old school in the way it's in person or it's webinars. So it's not really super engaging. And we thought, okay, there's a lot of room for improvement. And the subject has to be now applied in the everyday lives, you know, of employees. And if you watch something that you're not really intrinsically motivated to learn, which most of advisors are not like waking up all of a sudden and say, yes, finally we can learn about sustainability. It's our burden to make the subject as exciting and interesting as possible for them. So they actually get excited about the subject and it's easier for them to learn it. And that's what we did. So, of course, my film background, we really focus on high quality film productions to bring across the content on the one side. And on the other side, my co-founder is a software engineer, so we're kind of a software house and a content house under one roof. And on the software side, we work on gamification and interactiveness to really get the learning experience make it as fun as possible, essentially. And this way we combine content with emotions and are, of course, becoming more, as a bank, you kind of give your employees something that they enjoy. We always say we want to be the Netflix of ESG. And we are not just a course, but we're really a platform that's bringing out content every quarter because the subject of ESG is dynamically evolving, always new regulations, new trends, new knowledge. So it has to be something where you're up to date with. And we offer that. on the one side. And on the other side, we're working on an interactive scrolling. So what we do, we present the content in a way that you scroll through the content, and while you scroll, there's animations popping up, new images, a film, maybe an interactive test question. So you really have the feeling of being fully immersed in one learning journey as long as you learn. And if you leave it, you leave it, but you don't have the experience of clicking from, like, for example, one video to another. That's really the aim of it. And the second route we're taking is non-linear learning. So we say it's super crucial to actually individualize content on your pre-knowledge of the subject and on your learning preferences. And that way we keep the relevant, or make the content that you see super relevant for you, because it's adapted to your preferences. And we as a company, we teach sustainability, so we were like, okay, we got to be at least sustainable ourselves. And that's why we gamify the learning journey that you actually earn coins throughout the courses. And then at the end of the course, you can allocate these coins into curated offsetting projects. And this way we combine sustainable knowledge with sustainable action taking. And behind these virtual coins is profits from us. And then these metrics, these CO2 reduction metrics, we give our clients. They can use for their non-financial reporting, for example. And our second product is basically the sales tool. So here we are basically creating really an end customer education opportunity. Because to convey the subject in a sales meeting for an advisor is super complex. There's a big ambiguity in the subject. Every client has a subjective opinion on it. So we are taking away the burden of the advisor to actually explain all of this over and over again to all of their clients by giving him a tool that he can send to his client before the meeting even takes place. And the client can start to fill out a survey form, can start to educate himself if he wants to, and already gets on a certain level of knowledge before he even goes into the actual sales meeting. And this way we want to boost more investments in sustainable products, and of course increase the effectiveness of the advisors. And this is the one route where it's with the advisors, and the second route is basically to have it fully automated as a robo-advisor. So you have an ESG robo-advisor, which is one path where you can directly make investments through the robo. And the other one, if you do the survey and educate yourself on it, you can say, okay, I want to contact my advisor actually. So on the one side, we're generating a lead for banks on insurances. On the other side, we do direct investments. And really, for me, it's exciting to see that there's new metrics coming up, like ESG. And of course, we're not there yet. I think it's a long process till things are really becoming more and more impactful. But I appreciate that we kind of look wider and we open the scope of how we see success. Because so far, we have defined success through the prism of growth and profit. And I think it's amazing to see that we also take into account a more holistic approach where we include actually environmental and social factors into what it means to be successful as a company. And leave you with that quote from Benjamin Franklin: tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the very interesting talk. And now, of course, we still have some time to respond to some questions you might have. Yes.
We didn't talk much about the content, I mean the data, what type of data, like where do you source it from, like can you elaborate a bit on the content itself? Like at the moment, I know that it's evolving very fast, but what it is at the moment exactly?
Do you mean the content itself?
The content of the data, like you mentioned zero objective, so is that just about carbon emissions, or is that more what other criteria? How do you select the criteria? What type of criteria you offer today?
Yeah, so right now, today, we basically just have the learning platform. So here we just have content, and we don't work with data because we just educate. So we just do courses. And educate and do certification, for employees. That's the one side of the product. But in the second side of the product, where we have the sales tool, we actually, with a robo-advisor, we of course need to be working with data from data providers,
So
and
you source the data externally. You do not create the data yourself.
Yeah, right now the plan is to source it externally. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and also the data in terms of user behavior on the platform is played to the advisor. So the advisor sees how did the client, what did he click, what did he do, what did he watch, what is he interested in. And so when he goes in the sales talk, he is actually prepared to individually engage the interests of that specific client.
Any other question? Okay, then I thank you very much, and wish you a pleasant afternoon here at our event.
Thank you.
Thank you.